Right now I'm going to talk about proptradingindicators.com, our automated strategy for NT8. It's called the Pivot Point Strat. Strat is short for strategy. This is currently our heavy lifter automated system. It's very simplistic in design and operation. I'm going to show you some of the features. I've been trying to shoot a sequence of days showing the strategy operate in replay mode, so I can kind of go, let it play out, stop it, talk about aspects of the automated system, the different features. But for 3 days in a row now, I can't get NT8 replay mode to work on 2 different computers. So whatever, I'll keep working on it when I see that replay mode is back working normal. Here's an example of a day, and we have 2 modes in the strategy, and this is some of the stuff I wanted to showcase in that video, and I'll get it done once I can get replay mode operating properly. Matter of fact, I'm going to contact NinjaTrader support today and see if they can't help me get this figured out. I've never ever had problems with replay mode, and all of a sudden now it doesn't work. So if I go to the PTI folder, Prop Trading Indicators, I go to the Pivot Point Strat. If I hit Add, let me go into template mode. I'm going to load the default settings that I have. And here we have the various settings. So targeting just 350 a day, like somebody's just like in the very beginning out. And maybe the first week of trading live, they targeted 250 a day. If they're comfortable with the strat, they understand how it's all working. They've traded for 5 days, targeting 250 a day, kind of just like getting used to how it operates, what is the logic and the options in the strategy, how do all the settings work. Then the next week they bump it up and say, okay, now I'm going to trade for 350. And that's definitely not a problem with 2 MNQs. Anything more than that, you start wanting to go for 400 a day to 500 a day, I would say you'd need to go up to at least 3 MNQs. But maybe somebody's got a 50K account and they never want to trade more than 2 MNQs to be safe. I get it. So stop and ticks 160, set a target way far away, just in case you get into an entry and then the market rips in your intended direction, unscheduled news, whatever the case may be. We do have the ability to set a break-even threshold, so when the market goes to 170 ticks in the money, I set it that the stop would move up to break-even plus 5 ticks. All of this stuff is adjustable, because obviously on different instruments and different time frames, the stop distance, the break-even threshold, all that would need to be adjusted. We do have a very simplistic, basic trail stop mechanism. I don't have that turned on. And here I just put, hey, I want to go for 350. And then I can put in a daily loss limit. Anytime you have 0, that field or that window is disabled. And then we have 2 modes. We have a signals mode and a time window. I'm going to show you what happens with the strategy when I'm in time window mode. And then I want to enable a time window, meaning I only want the automated system to consider taking trades, whether it's a time window trade or a signals trade, in that window that I've set. So I have mine set to US Central Time, which is Chicago, or Globex time, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, where all these instruments trade through. So I have that set. Then the exact same settings I have for the PPG1 indicator on my chart, I have them set here in the strategy, so that my strategy is in sync in trading signals exactly as I have them plotted on the chart through an indicator. So 15, 10, 0.75, colored up and all that. I have it unchecked, meaning, hey, don't plot the indicator on my chart because I already have it running on the chart. And the rest of this stuff has to do with, just default settings are fine. I'm going to go in and enable the strategy. Anytime I want to turn the strategy on, I would hit the enable button, and for those particular settings I would hit OK. It would calculate, and then it wouldn't consider any trade activity until 8:32 in the morning. Now the market's pretty slow right now. We're pre-market. So once the strategy is enabled, the calculating message will disappear. I have an on-off button to turn the strategy on and off. Anytime I'm in a trade, I can hit the flatten button. I have a long and short mode, meaning be willing to take all trades long and short. I can also set it up for long mode only or short mode only. And I tend to use these modes on occasion when I see the market break a key level and do a level sweep. We've had a few to the upside. When I see a break, then I'll go turn on the strategy in short mode only. And the first signal I get short after the market's pierced through, tested, or swept a key level, I'll take the first action on that, to the downside. Or at least you have that option. So I'll leave it long and short mode. So I'm not going to be running the strategy right now. We're pre-market. There's really nothing going on in the market. I'll turn that off. What I want to show you though is time window mode. So the signals for the pivot point strategy are these dots on the PPG1 indicator. So a red dot would be a short signal. So we'll go through those here shortly. And we'll get that nice and vertical. So there's one signal to the short side after the 8:32 time period, which I have indicated by a vertical line. So that's the first bar close at or after 8:32 U.S. Central Time. And we have a long signal right here. Move that over. And then we have a short signal up off this high. But anyhow, we'll just kind of go from right here. So if I have my strategy set in time window, this is what the logic is. The first bar close at 8:32 a.m., because remember, that was the beginning of my time window. I set it like 8:32 to like 12:30. So I said, only take new trades during that time window. Now, if I'm in a trade and 12:30 hits, nothing happens. The trade plays out until the logic, follows the logic, hits a, target, gets an opposite signal where it would just flatten the trade, be done, and so on. So at 8:32, and let's take a time hack of this particular bar close. And this bar close was at 8:32 and tenths of a second. See that down there? 8:32, and I guess it'd be 10/100ths of a second. So that's the first eligible bar in my time window where I can take a trade. And since I said time window, that means the second, or right at 8:32 or after. In this case, the PPG1 indicator is in an up mode, and I get a up closing bar. So I have to have an up closing bar, and I have to have the PPG1 green to, at the beginning of my time window, as soon as I get that candlestick close at that time that I've set, in this case 8:32 U.S. Central Time, I always avoid the first 2 minutes of the open. That's can be scrub action where there's balancing going on. I don't want to trade that. So here it triggers me into a trade. Would set my stop 160 ticks down, and basically I'm in the trade. So what it's going to do, it would stay in the trade, and you can see as long as the PPG1 indicator is green, it stays in the trade. Now, on the first signal I get past 8:32, this was a short, and I'm showing you this by design because the first signal didn't work, but I want to cover that. So what would happen to this trade if I'm still in it? It would flatten right there. So I'd have a very small gain. I'd be slightly positive. Then I'm short. the market did not rotate lower. Then right away the market got lift again. This trend that was in place goes back in place. Then I get a long signal. So that short trade that got filled here would flip to the long side. So now I went from slightly positive to now I'm a little bit negative. And then the rest of the day, basically, it just grinds. And now I'm getting already to 12:30 in the afternoon. Now for me, I don't want to be initiating new trades after 12:30 unless it's like Fed interest rate day. Then I don't ever trade automated into Fed news, but I'll set it that at 1 o'clock, let's say the interest rate news hits at 1, I'd be willing to let the strategy take a trade at 1:03 U.S. Central Time. I allow 3 minutes to go by after the news release before I'm willing to let the automation take trades. So at some point here, I go positive on the day, and I would just blip it out and call it a day. It's already 12:30 Central Time. I don't want to sit here and keep, taking trades. Basically, it's like progress over perfection. I'll take some positive on the day, and I'm done. Now, if I had it in signals mode, I would have waited all the way till past 9:30, about 9:40 in the morning. It would have triggered me into a short. That first trade would have been a loser. Then it was long, and then at some point I got positive again, and now I'm waiting for, I see, we're at 12:30 U.S. Central Time or later. It's grinding, and it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm done for the day. Now we go to the next day, and these 2 days I picked by design because there's some flipping back and forth at the beginning of the day, and I want to show you that's okay. That's not whatever kills you. So in time windows mode, the PPG1 was red, and we got a down closing candle right at the 8:32 or later time window. So this is like 8:32 and change. I'm short. Didn't work. Okay. Flips me to long. I have the first signal I get. Well, this trade would have already closed out at my stop. So the stop would have been, 160 ticks. I would have gotten stopped out. Then eventually right here, so now I have a loser. So we'll put a minus sign. Then I get triggered into a long trade. Runs up, doesn't quite test this area or trade above. And then I get flipped to a short trade. So then I have a partial loser there. So I have a full loser, then I have a partial loser. Okay, so now I'm minus and then a little bit minus. So the way to set your stops and your position size should always be, I can handle 2 losers in a row, and having 2 losers in a row is actually pretty rare, but I'm showing it like on purpose. You need to be able to sustain with your stop and the amount of P&L you're willing to go negative on your size of account for the position size. In this case, I had a full loser, a partial loser. You need to be able to handle 2 losers in a row and then have a little bit of extra margin. Then you're fine as your daily loss limit. So then I'm on my trade 1 was a loser, trade 2 is a partial loser, trade 3, now I'm short. And what happens is she runs and runs and runs, and I don't care what your profit objective was on the day, you're done. You had a good day. That worked out good. So you would have hit a daily profit objective. So even when the market is a bit indecisive out of the open, you still have the ability to make a daily profit objective. The key is the psychology that, oh no, the market's going to do this. I'm going to get flipped back and forth. And I'm going to blow out my account. No, you're not. You just set a daily loss limit. But set a daily loss limit in relation to your daily profit objective so you have some room to breathe and you can let the market figure out what it wants to do. And the NASDAQ always, like day after day after day, 19 out of every about 20 trading days a month gets a direction and gets some sort of 70, 80, 90 point excursion or more away from the opening range. I mean, that's just how the NASDAQ works. And we got guys trading gold in the evening doing fantastic, and on other instruments got guys trading Bitcoin futures. You know, we can get dialed in settings per instrument and time frame. Now, these settings I'm showing you in the time frame are not even the best of the best. They're pretty good, and they're good settings for a beginner trader or newer trader to get on and let the system do its thing. So anyhow, and then there's days we get in time window mode, and I'll show you why the benefit of using the time window mode. Let's go take a look at one of those examples, and then we'll wrap this up. So here's a scenario. The first bar that closed at 8:32 U.S. Central Time or later triggers you into the trade. You got your stop. Comes down, hits your break-even threshold. Stop moves to break-even plus. And then the market runs basically 100 and some points right away. I mean, so these are days we call one and done. So in this scenario, you know, I get triggered into a trade right away and I'm done. I'm not waiting for the first signal on the day and then start working signal mode. So, you know, the time window mode does have some advantages in the potential to get your trading done quicker or earlier in the day versus waiting for signals mode. Now, right now on this particular time frame for these particular settings, the time window mode does show a P&L advantage over time over the signals mode. Both their equity curves look very similar in a nice, you know, crawling uptrend. But the signals mode has a slightly lower end P&L total than the time window. So the time windows is in the lead from a total P&L standpoint. And I posted up a video, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago. One of our clients that's a pretty sophisticated automated trader sent me data on him running time window mode versus him running signals mode. And he showed that continually upward, nice grinding equity curve on both, but that the time window mode had a slight P&L advantage over a period of time. I think it was 50 days or 60 days or something like that. But so yeah, so the automated strategy basically reads our PPG1 indicator, pivot point group 1 indicator, and this indicator has unique math, and this indicator is designed to read and be responsive to symmetrical Renko candles, whether you're using Unirenko, Ninja Renko, Livewire, Renko BXT, and others. So there you have it. Wanted to go over the logic of the various, or at least the pivot point strategy. I'll have more content. I'm going to have a lot more content added after I can get my replay mode going. I'm going to go day by day to make sure you guys understand the functionality of the automated system through chop days, through days where we just take off and run, in the various modes, signal mode, time window mode, and so on. So there you have it. If you have any questions, info@proptradingindicators.com, and you guys have a great day.